Sharman, he's done it! Tierney, great run, great goal! What a magnificent... It's a Aubameyang!
So we are back again. Jesus, I feel like we don't stop. Welcome back to Sideline Talk, the Arsenal. But yeah, we go again. It's a bit of at the moment, it's a bit hard to talk about football. I think we're all in a bit of a same situation. It's a bit of a negative environment, but we've still got to go. We've still got to move. We've still got to do what we do. Today, I'm joined by Anthony, Republic of Arsenal. For those of you that don't know him, you should know him. One of my good Irish friends. And we'll do this later, but make sure you go check him out. I've been on him. I've pretty much... I think he's definitely one of the sort of people that made me start this whole feature. For those of you that haven't seen one of these before, this is something we're doing. It's a little bit of an extra feature to the show just to get the audience involved. Obviously, two of the hosts on this show support Arsenal, so we all want to be talking about the team we support. But the account's still not biased, so we want to be doing what we can do, and it was just a nice little thing for me to get involved in. Anthony and several others have just made me feel like we need to talk about it, even though some results may go in our way. Bit of a different situation, but Anthony, how are you doing, mate? You okay? I know we was together earlier, but you right? How's things been since then?
Yeah, all good since I saw you last. As I said, we're doing the home and away leg. So we did the home leg earlier. This is the away leg for me. So I'm looking forward to this. It's a bit long overdue. I've been meaning to come on the channel here. And look, I just want to say a big thanks to you. You were talking about how I helped you, but man, you've helped me more than you'll know. You've come on my channel a number of times now. You've helped me out. You've supported me. You've always helped share the content of that. So look, if I can repay the favor in any way, if time permits, I'm always more than happy to return the favor. So no, I'm absolutely delighted to be here.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. It's a pleasure to have you on. This has been way long overdue, but we'll get cracking because we was on your show earlier. Obviously, I know neither of us have got the time that we want to have, but 24 hours in a day, we wish there were more. So let's start from where I didn't know you, right? Because we've known each other a few weeks through the channels. I'm going to ask this for most of the guests that come on, but I want to ask you this in particular because obviously you're not from London, so it's not going to be that the fact that it came from the roots. It is never going to be that situation. How did this come along? How did you start your channel? How did you become an Arsenal fan? Tell me all about it. I want to know. Yeah,
I have to blame my dad and my granddad for this, the Arsenal bug that I caught. It basically all started out. My granddad was an Arsenal fan. He is still alive. I don't know why I'm talking past tense. He is still alive and kicking, thankfully, and he is still a gunner. And my dad was actually born over in London. He was actually, as I believe, he was born close to Stamford Bridge. But luckily enough, with my granddad being a gooner, that's the path he chose. So he steered clear of that team in blue, thankfully. So yeah, like that, the two lads were kind enough to pass on the Arsenal burden to me, I guess we call it. So yeah, like I'm the eldest of three boys. I'm the only real Arsenal fan out of the lot of them. So the way they say, it's usually the eldest that inherits everything. So yeah, I inherited Arsenal. And like that, yeah, the tie I have towards Arsenal, like that, I'm on the outside, obviously. As you can tell, I'm not from London. Born and bred in Ireland, from Dublin. But like that, yeah, Arsenal's always been a huge part of my life. Growing up, as I said, I'm a third generation Arsenal fan. I have a 5-year-old daughter now. I'm trying to pass it on to her. She's resisting as best she can. She's she's at that funny stage now where she's not overly interested in football. I think her main enjoyment out of supporting Arsenal now is watching me in pain, because she likes to watch me.
Yeah, I know them ones.
Oh, she's so funny. And actually, I think I told a couple of guys this off air. She will come in, and it's little things like this, I guess, that I actually love it though. I love this part of her personality. She's so funny, because I'll be watching a game and she'll see that I'm pretty stressed out watching this game, and she'll come in decked out in an Arsenal kit and say, "Dad, are Arsenal losing?" And I'll say, "Yeah," and she'll go, "Ha ha," and I'm going, "Oh, this kid is decked out in Arsenal gear, laughing at me because Arsenal are losing." But it's little things like that that just, it makes you sit back and go, you know what? This is only a game. As much as we get invested in it, there's more to life. But no, it consumes you. It really does consume you. But that's basically how I became an Arsenal fan. And like with all this stuff going on, I've had a few conversations with people, and I've heard some stories about how emotionally tied people are to the club. And again, I have my own kind of story, but I look at with some of the things I feel and where I'm coming from, I can only imagine how hard everything is for people at the moment with all the talks of. I'm sure we'll get into everything else that's going on, but seeing some heavy stuff. People really are have it in their blood, and as hard as I find it at times, I can only imagine how tough it can be for other people. But look, I signed up for this from a young age, and I think I'm here till my final breath. Arsenal through and through, whether I agree with decisions or not. I think it's my burden to carry for the rest of my days.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't have put that better, to be honest. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I have to completely echo that. I sometimes feel like I've seen a lot, and then you look back to what other people have had, and I think no. Actually, I'm not dealing with anything, to be honest. Like, this is nothing. This is a little portion of what's to come. Tricky one, but yeah, we'll go into what has happened. Like, it's a completely different kettle right now. But yeah, we'll talk about. I know we spoke about this on your channel. I've been on your channel a lot, like you mentioned. But let's talk about what your realistic predictions were this season in terms of. I'm not just talking the team. I'm talking players, management. What realistically, where did you think you would be?
If I'm being honest, I don't think we're really far off what I was expecting. This might sound crazy, but maybe we're doing slightly better than I thought we would. And I use that in a general sense. Obviously, you look at the league form and it's not good. You look at the position in the table, it's not good. But was I expecting to be in a Europa League semi-final? Probably not. Did I think we had the squad for it? Yeah. But I'll elaborate a little bit more. But I don't know if I was quite expecting to be in the position we're in, in a European sense. With regard, like, some of the work that Arteta has done that I think has gone a bit unnoticed. Like, was I expecting the likes of Mesut Ozil, Mustafi, Socrates, Kolasinac, guys like that? Was I expecting them off the books? No. I thought these guys are here until their contract is gone. So yeah, I was looking at the season, and I was one of them that was trying not to get overhyped by the FA Cup win, because I do understand a lot of the time you get a new manager bounce. Arteta comes in, a fresh face with fresh ideas. Everybody gets on board. The players are, they're spurred on a little bit, and that same squad of players that wasn't good enough, for a lot of them weren't good enough for the Arsene Wenger days. They weren't good enough for Unai Emery, and I sort of thought to myself, okay, they've exceeded expectations by taking the FA Cup, but I'm expecting a drop off. I am expecting a drop off here, and I know the squad has been added to, and people are saying, well, Arteta has a better squad than what Emery had, but you've got to take into context as well. Like, again, I think I'm becoming famous for this term, on paper.
Yeah, definitely.
Really, really.
I was on
Oh,
that night as well. I thought I'll do a shot every time you said it. You said it way too many times.
oh, it's constant. It's constant. But yeah, like I think the problem is like people are looking at this squad and saying this is a better squad than what Unai Emery had. And as I said, on paper, you could make that argument. But reality has shown me that the squad isn't, because look at where the squad is in the table. So reality is showing me that this squad is not better than Unai Emery's squad. And I don't care if people say, well, he had this player and that player and this player. The squad isn't playing as good as they did last season. So the reality for me is this squad isn't as good. And until they prove it, by their final stand in the league table, I'm going to stand by that this squad is not as good as the last squad until they prove me wrong.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I agree. I echo that completely.
Yeah, so I think, look, people get a bit too wrapped up in names. You see a name of a player and you automatically think, well, that player is better than this player. But yeah, look, football it's not all black and white. What should be the case isn't always the actual case. So yeah, I did look at the season, and of course I took into consideration, Arteta. He is still a new man. He's still learning. He wasn't my choice. If I'm being completely honest, I thought it was a bad idea from the get-go, because as we've been through before, to give such a big job, and I mean a big job in a sense of like it's a massive club, massive fan base, but also it's a big job because there was a hell of a lot of work needed to be done.
Yeah,
and this is
a lot.
Yeah, so it's massive. So to give it to a rookie, I thought was crazy. But yeah, look, as I said, he got the FA Cup, and I think people got a bit overexcited, and maybe the expectation went a bit too high. And I think you kind of had to sit back and kind of say, well, look, there is going to be a few bumps in the road here. You've still got to give the guy time. Just because he come in his first 6 months or whatever it was, 8 months, and he's got you a cup, let's not think, this guy is, going to be leading us to a Champions League in 2 years' time. You have to settle down just a small bit. And he's still learning. He's still going to make mistakes. And I think we have to accept this is it's a transitional season for Arteta. And I know people hate this phrase, the process and that, but it is a process. And
a
process,
100%.
Like a process does take time. It does take time. And look, people are saying, the people that I guess are against Arteta are sort of saying, well, he's not shown me anything better than what I've seen in the past. But again, I come back to the whole fact that it is a process. A process may not be a 1-season process. It could be a 3-season process before we start really seeing the wheels in motion. So I just think, I was willing to have a bit of patience coming into it. I'm sure you were probably the same.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to me, I think there was nuts and bolts to be put together, and realistically, I don't think them nuts and bolts have been put together. I think we've signed 2 players. We haven't seen a lot of Partey. We haven't seen a lot of Gabriel. I know we touched on earlier, and we'll get into that. Gabriel's had some off periods, some on periods. Like, he had a good start to the season, but then when we started progressing, all of a sudden he took a step back. Partey's had his injuries. So yeah, I 100% agree on that. I think the process could have been a lot better. I mean, I'm never going to be Arteta out, to be honest, because I always say the grass is never, ever greener on the other side. Like, it never seems to be in football. It always seems to be worse whenever people loot. Like, we can look at Tottenham with Poch and then with Mourinho. We've seen him sacked today. So I just think people that do call him out, I always ask, and I know we've said this on your channel, who comes in? There is no one that can really do anything with that club. There is no one. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I've said a couple of times. I said, look, I'm not Arteta in. I think sometimes people get confused because I don't slate the guy, and I don't offer the option of, well, look, sack him. That doesn't mean that I'm not throwing all my eggs in the Arteta basket and saying, no, this is the guy, keep him at all costs. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I understand the sort of overall job he has on his hands, and any man that comes in, I still think is going to be left with these same issues that they're going to have to fix. And of course, a new man might come in who has a bit more experience and is a bit better equipped to deal with the issues, which is expected. You know, if you bring in an experienced guy, it's expected he's going to have a better understanding of how to run a football club, because it's Arteta's first full year as a full manager, because he was coach last season. So it's fully expected that if a new, more experienced guy came in, he probably will get an extra 10 or 15, 20% out of some players, and he would probably change some things for the better. But it depends, you know, what your end goal is. If you're looking for a manager to come in and take this squad to top 4, you're mad. It's not going to happen. Like I said, look, if Arteta finished 8th last season, perhaps another guy would have come in and finished 7th this season, or maybe 6th or whatever. But I think you're only going to be able to bleed this squad for so much. It has to get to a point where I think we have to take a step back and say, look, whether you like the manager, whether you don't like the manager, you have to be willing to accept that the squad currently is not good enough. And even with the additions that have come in, it's still not good enough. And there's still a lot of players that have long overstayed their welcome that need to be replaced. But it is, again, it's a process. And he started the process for me. I'm not so much even looking at the players that have come in. I've seen some nice additions that I like, but like people are expecting, like that Gabriel, and this is like an argument people are using with the whole, Unai squad was worse. But like Unai Emery had like an experienced Koscielny at the back who
that's a good shout actually.
People are right. I know he did what he did in the end, but I think people are disregarding how good a player he was because of what he did in his final days. Now, you can't convince me that Gabriel is currently better than Koscielny at the moment. I think he will be. He can develop into it, but we're not giving these guys enough time. We're automatically expecting, because this guy has come in with a good bit of hype and he cost 27 million. He's automatically better than the guy we had there last season, and that's not how it works. It's the same with Pepe. Because he cost 72 million, he came in, he's automatically better than whoever you want to name. Even Thomas Partey, again, people are using Thomas Partey saying, well, Unai Emery didn't have Thomas Partey. But look, to be fair, Arteta hasn't really had Thomas Partey that we know either. No. And that's, you could argue also, again, I do see also is you could argue, well, maybe the management of him hasn't been the best and what have you. But look, there's an adjustment period. It's a new country, new teammates. It's a new way of life. He's had injuries that he never experienced.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like he's had injuries like no tomorrow. I never knew of him to get injured as much as he has this season. Probably, I don't know if it's a fact, but probably more than what he's had in his career. Like all of a sudden, he's getting injured like no tomorrow, and it's a bit of a worry. And then we see Xhaka going to left back. It's an improvement, but realistically, our middle is a little bit short. I know we touched on our Nenny earlier, and it's just like, what can you expect out of this sort of team when we really haven't got that improvement? We've only seen little of the additions that we've had. It's tricky. I think it's tricky for me. I really think it is tricky because you can say, okay, we've improved the squad. They've done their job. And I'm not one to get involved in the board. Obviously, they've got a little bit more of a involvement now, which we'll go into in the team. Yes. But I'm not realistically that bothered and I know I've said this on your channel, in who looks after the squad. The way I see it, we've got the players out there. I think we're a little bit too versatile up top than what we can be everywhere else. I think we've got 6 or 7 up top where we realistically only need 4 or 5, and at the back we're a little bit delicate because it's like you can't say we've got that many players. I think we worry when we get injuries, which we've seen. David Luiz, for example. Let's talk about the players that have been brought in that have been a bit of a shine to light. So that not new this season, but I want to talk about a specific defender. So obviously Gabriel, he hasn't paid off for us, but he's been a little bit of a, I suppose we can say, surprise at first, and then when we come back to it, he's at the end. He's been. I think the problem is he's been good at the start, and then now he's made a few mistakes, and people are like, "Whoa, this isn't what we signed up for." He hasn't actually been that bad. He makes some mistake, but every defender does. So let's talk about Marie, because I know for a fact he's sort of been that player where he. I mean, he was a bargain. The way you look at it on paper, he was a massive bargain. What did you make of him originally when he first stepped in? Because obviously, I don't think many people knew much about him.
Yeah, and just really quickly, just before I talk about it, just kind of to follow up on Gabriel. I think the problem is, I think we got a bit spoiled with Gabriel at the beginning because he hit the ground running, and because his performances have, I wouldn't say they've been bad, but maybe they've dropped off a little bit, and people are now writing them off. Whereas usually a guy comes in and he performs maybe the way Gabriel's performing now, and then gradually builds up to perform the way he did at the start. So, look, there's a potentially very, very good defender in Gabriel. Definitely would be madness to write him off.
No, he's still young.
Yeah, look, he's still learning again, and like that. I think he's suffering as well with a bit of a lack of consistency with a partner. You know, you've got David Luiz with him this week, and then you've Rob Holding with him next week, and then Pablo Mari might get a sniff every now and again. And we're hoping we might potentially see Gabriel and Pablo maybe play a couple of games together at some point, because I don't buy this whole 2 left footers can't play centre half. I don't at all. But in terms of Pablo Mari, I actually find it kind of funny that people are surprised at how decent he actually is. And for me, I feel safer with Pablo Mari in the side than Gabriel. And again, people probably go like, what are you talking about? But if you think about it, the points we made about Gabriel, he's come in and it's a new league and it's a new language and all like, adjustment period. And I know to a large extent that applies to Pablo Mari, but he's an older guy. He's more experienced. He's had more, first team football. Look, Man City bought this guy when he was younger. I know he never got to play for City, but City saw something in him, to make them make the investment in him. So clearly there's a player there. Sometimes a player has a roundabout way of, making it to we call it the big leagues. He didn't get his chance with Man City. He signed for them, and I think he went out on loan for about 3 or 4 seasons until he was eventually sold on. Look, it happens. You need to be an exceptional talent to get into that Man City team. So he just never got his chance. He ended up going to Brazil, and again, like, this guy was seen as one of the best defenders in the Brazilian league. And say what you want about the Brazilian league, but we found out firsthand you cannot write a player off because of the league he plays in. We've seen some decent players that have done damage against us, for Benfica, Olympiacos, for Slavia Prague even.
Yeah. Everywhere.
Exactly. So, it doesn't matter what league you're playing in. That doesn't discount you as a bad player. It doesn't mean you're a bad player, like a good player will always make his way out of the league, and then we'll get to see the standard. And we're seeing that, I think, with Pablo Mari. He's not getting the opportunities I'd like him to get, but I can definitely see a player there. And like you said, he could be a serious bargain. I think the deal it's supposed to be about 4 million, and I think potentially rising to 12 million. It's like an appearance-based thing for every 10 games. It's $1 million in add-ons. I think up to a max of 12 million. But this day and age, you're signing a player, for a Premier League first team, and he's costing you, a max of 12 million quid. Like that's an absolute bargain. Like even if he's average, that's a bargain. But to me, I think he can be very, very good. He looks solid. I can't understand why he's not getting more of an opportunity though. I really can't.
It's strange one, isn't it? Because at the back, I've always said this. I know I said this earlier, but the stability in the centre halves, and I know you just touched on, is really annoying because we have very little. We only have Holding, your Marie, your Gabriel. Louise is obviously out for the season. So it doesn't make sense to me. I think we do need to find something there. And I wanted Gabriel to play because I thought, he needs some sort of game time. We've spent some money on him and he's a new signing. But I also thought we need to keep that sort of stability in the centre halves because him and Holding have played well together. It's a tough one. I think the problem is, and I've said this many times, our depth doesn't really go around the board. I think we have very little depth in our squad. It's a big shame, but Marie is realistically, he's started showing form at the wrong time because at this time in the season, it's imperative that we keep this sort of instability in squad. And at the moment, I mean, yesterday you could say was a risk, but nothing went bad against Fulham defensively. They had one shot on target, which was the penalty. A lot of people can say, "Oh, Gabriel made a mistake. He shouldn't have made that tackle," but it could be anyone. But what I like about him as well, he's not very old, and we got him for a little bit of money, which could turn out a bargain, like you said. I don't know. Next season will be interesting to see if we bring any more. I've always said we've got too many centre backs in terms of our team. We've got nothing there, like we don't really have. We have no centre midfielders. I know we spoke about it. Like we have nothing in terms of centre midfields.
Yeah.
Centre halves, we have too many. We have Chambers, Holding, Louise, Marie, Gabriel, and I'm just thinking, what about the rest? We've got one left back on paper. Let's say on paper, we've got one left. We've got one left back which you can realistically rely on. It annoys me, and I don't think this summer is a summer where you can realistically think that we're going to get rid of 3 or 4 players. I don't think that's going to happen. It should. I just don't think it will. I think there's too much going on at the moment, especially with what we're going to probably go on to shortly. But if you realistically could sort of say you're in Arteta's position, you've got that sort of build. Who would your front two be next season, ideally? Back to.
See, next season is going to be a tough one because all the players you listed off, and then you've got William Saliba and potentially Mavropanos to add to that list as well. So I think as hard as it is to pick it back to this season, I think it's going to be even tougher next season unless a couple are cleared out. I know he likes David Luiz. I know he rates him, and the rumor is he wants to hang on to him. But I don't know. Maybe with this injury, that might be a bit of a deal breaker now. That could be the end of David Luiz, which is a bit of a shame because, love him or hate him, I think he's been solid for us this season. And if I thought I was going to get something like that out of him next season, I definitely keep him in around the squad just as an option, But at the same time, trying to look at it from a logical point of view, as I said, you got Saliba and potentially Mavropanos coming back. Young guys that need playing time. So am I gonna risk a 34-year-old, I think David Luiz next season? Am I gonna give him the minutes that could be given to the young lads? No, probably not. So I think for a start, I think we let David Luiz move on if that's an option. I have a feeling Gabriel is the one that he rates anyway as being his left-sided centre half. I think it's more so for Arteta looking at who's going to partner him long term, and Rob Holding just doesn't work. Rob Holding with Pablo Marie is a potential partnership that could work. Gabriel on Holding for me, no. Just anytime I see it, there's just too many issues with it. Both guys feel for me like they benefit from having a leader next to them. Pablo Mari, I think, gives Rob Holding that bit of confidence. I think he takes on that leadership role when he's next to Holding, and I think David Luiz takes that role for Gabriel and allows them to just concentrate on their game. So yeah, for me, it's going to be a case of who's going to partner Gabriel next season.
Tricky, isn't it?
It is. It really is. I guess
it's probably the one position where you wouldn't think we need to realistically improve because we've got a lot of players there. And who do you sell? Like Chambers is probably the only one realistically you'd sell because we're going to sign a new right back, and then he can't really play there because Cedric's going to be the backup. I imagine this is just what I imagine.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, where does the money come from?
What I would like to see is instead of Xhaka playing left back at the moment, like we know that's only temporary, and we spoke about this. We know that's not going to be a long-term fix. Why not try Pablo Mari at left back?
Yeah.
Because
even Gabriel, they can. The way I see it,
yeah.
Tierney's shown that he can do it. So I think if you can play fullback and then go centre back, the size Tierney is, I'm not saying he's small, but he is tiny. So if he can play at centre back, I don't see why someone like a Gabriel or Murray can, play in that centre half and do a job. Yeah. It's not a bad shout. I'd rather that than Xhaka.
Look, I think I can understand. Look, again, we know Tierney is the left back option. If he's fit, there's no disputing. And the job he does as a left back, bombing forward, bombing back, I'm not expecting to get that. If you put maybe Gabriel or Pablo Mari, I understand you're not going to get that. But at the same time, we're not getting that from Granit Xhaka being there. So as a stopgap, if you want, I guess, to set up for your, kind of old school, your left back to actually be a left back and defend rather than like a traditional fullback who's bombing forward and is almost a secondary winger. If you want a guy that's going to be there to defend that left back, why not throw one of them in? Like, especially if it means, giving, valuable minutes to some guys for fitness and, keeping form. And look, an injury is never too far off the cards for Arsenal. So it helps to have these guys, ready and available to step in when needed, because I think too many times we've had guys kind of sitting on the sidelines for far too long, and then they're asked to come in and try to do a job. Like I'm concerned now about Lacazette's injury, and okay, Eddie Nketiah grabbed the goal the other night, but how ready is he gonna be to just suddenly jump back in after being on the sidelines for how long now? So the same kind of goes for the centre backs. There's a bit too much chopping and changing, and there's we're not getting that familiarity, and maybe that's a way of you can get Holding, Pablo Mari and Gabriel all in the same team together, at the odd time. I'm not saying, I'm not looking for it to be a permanent fixture. I'm not looking for anybody to be taking Kieran Tierney's place, but I just don't see the sense in Granit Xhaka being there when you could use somebody else. And especially, as you said, the likes of El Neni.
Yeah.
We need El Neni partner Ceballos in midfield. I would rather Xhaka. I'd rather Xhaka partner even one of them if Thomas Partey has to rest in midfield. We saw against Fulham the no progression at all between Ceballos and El Neni. And I know people will turn around and say, oh, well, Xhaka's a sideways merchant. But look, this season has proved he's not. If you look at the stats and you look at the pass charts, all sorts, he's a progressive player this season. Maybe he wasn't in the past. This season, you cannot argue Granit Xhaka has not been adding to our fluid forward play.
Yeah, I completely agree. You touched on Eddie, so let's bring that up. I know we spoke on it earlier, but where do you see him next season? What is your idea of Eddie being up top for Arsenal? Obviously, it's going to probably happen. I think we're pretty much expecting it. I don't think it'll be Balogun. It's either Eddie or Martinelli at this stage. What is your sort of thought of that?
Yeah, I feel like in terms of next season, I think if Eddie gets a run between now and the end of the season, depending on how bad Lacazette's injury is, I think he's really going to have to pull it out of the bag to have a future here. Like, I'm talking, we're going to need to see rapid progression in the last 5-6 games. We're going to need to see something we haven't seen from Eddie. Like, we know what his strengths are, and I feel a bit bad for Eddie at times because people, do discredit him a little bit because of the goals he scores. You get this, he's only a tap-in merchant and that, and of course all his goals are tap-ins. But I keep saying this. That is a skill in itself. And
yeah,
I'm not saying it's a skill to be able to tap the ball into an empty net. What I mean is it's a skill to be in the right place at the right time and to be able to anticipate when a ball is going to break and where to be at that crucial moment. And he has that poacher's instinct that Lacazette doesn't possess. I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form he's a better player than Lacazette. I think all around Lacazette's far superior. But Eddie possesses, I think, that key attribute that no one else has in our team. Just knowing where to be, the right place, the right time. And I think it was somebody mentioned earlier, a bit like Ian Wright. Now, of course, Ian Wright had a better all-around game again. But look, Eddie's 21?
He's so young. He's 21, probably maybe 22 by the time we get off this. But yeah, he's 21, 22.
That's it. So look, again, I think he's a guy a bit like Joe Willock. He needs a loan move at the very least. If we do have plans on keeping him, I wouldn't be keeping him in the Arsenal first team next season. I'd be sending him out on loan. And look, I don't care. Try it again. Send him back down to the Championship. He didn't really get a fair run at Leeds. Send him out somewhere. Like, we need to know what his level is. If we do intend on keeping him, we've got to see what his level, because we know he's not. He's too good for the under-23s. We've seen, like, there is talent there because he's broke the goal scoring records for the England under-21s. So there is some talent there. For me, I guess, look, to give a final verdict, I don't see a future for him. I don't think he's going to get the opportunities. I think if an offer comes in, we're probably going to take it because it looks as though Balogun is signing the new contract. And yeah, I think it's going to become even more difficult for Eddie now because Balogun's not signing that contract without some assurances on first team football. So yeah, definitely. Again, I think it might be time up for Eddie, which is unfortunate because in reality he hasn't had an awful lot of time.
No, yeah, he's young. It is a shame, but I think I know this is a saying of you, but the what is it on the pudding? The
proof's in the pudding, yeah.
The proof's in the pudding, yeah. But it'll be good for him as well because Eddie's not getting the game time at Arsenal anytime soon, especially with what's going on. We'll touch on Everton and then we'll briefly go into what's happened because I know we've spoke about it already on your channel this afternoon. What are your predictions for Friday? What do you think Arteta would do in terms of squad? Obviously, we don't really know what's going on at the moment, so this is a tricky one. We don't know whether we're going to be playing the week after. We really don't know at the moment, and I know that sounds bizarre, but it's the truth. We don't really know. Anything can happen tomorrow. The way the last 24 hours are gone, but how would you play it next week? Would you rest play? Because obviously Everton are in a pretty position. I'm not going to say they're going to go for top four. I don't think they'll get Champions League, but they're still fighting for that Europa League spot, which is big for Ancelotti. So what sort of let's go with a front three. What would you play as a front three?
I'd like to see Martinelli anyway hang on to that place. He needs the minutes. He needs to just keep it going. And I know, look, the injury concerns he's had in the past. I was happy enough to bide my time and wait for him to gradually progress into the team. But look, he seems to be over the injuries. There seems to be no after effects, really. I know he spoke after the last game. He picked up a bit of a knock, the Sheffield United game, I think it was.
Yeah.
But he said, look, no, I'm fine. So he was able to play against Fulham. And yeah, look, I think keep it going, keep the momentum going. Like, he's a young kid. I'm sure he has the legs to play again on Friday. Look, I guess we know Lacazette is going to be out. And that is something I did say leading into the Fulham game. I would have liked, like I said, to get a rest in case of picking up an injury. And the whole, I know, argument of, well, keep the momentum going, keep them scoring goals, keep them on form, because strikers, build off of confidence of scoring goals. I understand, but I was afraid this was going to happen, and we're so light up there because we've no Aubameyang. He's out with malaria. So what I would like is, I guess, the easy ones to pick. I would like Martinelli on the left. I don't particularly like him on the right, but I like Pepe just to get some game time. So I guess I'd bring him in. I prefer him on the left-hand side, if I'm being honest. But to get him in there, again, because he's shown me bits and pieces this season that I'd like him to build on, give him a consistent run. So I throw him in on the right-hand side. Saka needs a rest. Saka, we can't risk Saka. We can't. So leave Saka out. Let him sit this one out. And then up top, I guess it comes down to Eddie and Balogun, really. And I presume Eddie's going to get the nod again just after coming off the back of scoring that goal as well.
Yeah.
I think I think you would have got it anyway. I think Balogun is going to be looked at more so for next season. I don't think it's realistic this season. It's like, right, he signed the contract, he's going to be starting every game. I don't think that's going to be the case, to be honest. So I'm thinking it's going to be Nketiah up front, Martinelli out on the left, and Pepe on the right.
Yeah. That sounds exciting to me, to be honest. It depends on Nketiah's form. Everton aren't known to, I'm not saying they're terrible at keeping a clean sheet, but they're not known to keep one. So I think it would be good for, he's got he's got Gabby on the left and Pepe on the right. I don't think you can ask more in terms of pace, in terms of provision.
Yeah.
Obviously Everton, like I mentioned before, they're going for a sort of European spot. What's your prediction for the left back? That's probably the only position where I'd really be a bit worried on who's put there, because Everton haven't exactly. I mean, you've got Rodriguez there, you've got Sigurdsson, you've got Richarlison. Obviously, I think I know DCL's out, but what would you? Are you pretty much done with Xhaka at left back, or do you think he needs that sort of, shall we say? I know I spoke on this earlier about on the pod for you. Should we say that he needs that sort of challenge at left back? Do you think it's now or never, or do you think it is just get rid of it and job done?
It surprised me the fact that Xhaka came out of the Sheffield United game and continued to play left back, because I thought that was a stopgap, and I thought that was Arteta maybe just saying, look, Sheffield United, they're down, they're gone, in the nicest way possible. They're not going to be posing much of a threat going forward, so we can afford to slot Granit Xhaka in here at left back. So I was very surprised that Xhaka has continued at left back. I'm expecting him again. I'm expecting him to play at left back again, because he hasn't really done anything wrong, to be honest. And I suppose Arteta might look at it and go, look, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And I don't know. I take into account who he potentially may come up against. Again, you could maybe argue, Fulham, Sheffield United, and even Slavia Prague. He probably wasn't going to be overly tested too much. This could be completely different, but I think we know Granit Xhaka is going to play a part in the game regardless. Yeah. Whether that's going to be in midfield or at left back, he's going to find. He'd even put him in goal just to get the guy into the team. Like he's pretty much the first name on the team sheet. So yeah, I think he'll continue at left back because I think he might want to keep Danny Ceballos playing, because as I said earlier, I think the jury's definitely still out on Danny Ceballos. So I think Arteta I don't think he's even sold. I think he's trying to give him a bit of a run the team, because he's got a decision to make.
Yeah, definitely. It's it'll be interesting to see what sort of happens out of that, because Everton are quite strong up top as well. So it's going to be a big situation for a lot of them. And they're playing for something, whereas we're realistically, I mean, I don't know what we're actually playing for at the moment, which, funny enough, will bring us on to our next topic. So I know we spoke about this earlier, but I just want to briefly get your idea on it, because I know you're a bit like me, like you're hosting a lot, so you don't really get to put your own spin on things.
Yeah.
What's your situation in terms of whether or not we're in the Premier League? I think that is the main concern for a lot of people, whether or not we're going to be in the Premier League. Because to me, if we're in the Premier League still, it's just more football. It doesn't really concern me. It concerns the players more. And I think they're the ones that should probably cry about it. For us, it's just more football to watch. I know that sounds stupid, but it's the truth, because we've still got Premier League to play, and it's still exciting. What do you make of it overall? What do you think the next step is? Do you agree with it? If everything stays the same, if we just have more football playing?
It sounds a great problem to have when you say we're going to get a lot more football, and there's going to be, if it all works out and they come to an agreement that we can play in this Super League and continue in the Premier League, it sounds, as a spectator and as a fan, you're saying, I might have Arsenal twice a week. It sounds great, but my fear is how watered down I think the Premier League is going to become, especially for Arsenal and the sides who are involved, because you're gonna prioritize the competition that is going to pay you the most money. That's the one you're going to take serious. It's like when you get to the latter stages of the Champions League, you're going to try rest your league team as best you can, so you can prioritize advancing in that competition because it's more prestigious and there's money and all sorts involved. That's my fear of, if we do happen to continue in the Premier League. Like, look what our Premier League form looks like currently this season. You can imagine if we're playing in this elite competition, you're playing on a Wednesday night, you're in the new camp and you're playing against Barcelona, and then you've got maybe like a relegation threatened team in the Premier League on a Saturday or a Sunday. You're going to be throwing out your reserves and your under 23s, and you're going to be saving, your Thomas Partey's and your Aubameyangs and your Kieran Tierney's and that. You're going to be saving them for the big game because you have Real Madrid then next week. So the Premier League, it's going to become, if this is the case, the Premier League could become a very, very watered down version of Arsenal, and as everybody, because the squads are only currently a 25-man squad. So, as much as we don't have the squad for it, Man United and the other side, currently, I know they may work something out where they say you have a 40-man squad. But again, you're going to end up just signing a lot of players for the sake of having players to be able to put out a team. Because aside from Man City, like, who can afford to sign? Most squads can't sign 25 world-class players aside from like Man City and Chelsea maybe, but everybody else is going to have to, you're going to prioritize one. And I think the issue you're going to have is the Premier League isn't going to allow that, because it looks bad on their brand if you're not putting your stars out every single week, week in, week out. It looks bad for their brand. And then for the Super League, it's the exact same, because everybody wants their brand to be number one, and it generates the funds, it sells the subscriptions, the TV rights, all sorts. So it's a very, very awkward situation to be in. And I can understand why the Premier League aren't happy about it, because as I said, it's going to damage their brand. So it's all well and good the team sitting around saying, well, no, look, we're happy enough to continue in the Premier League. We just want to be in this as well. But I think the Premier League we're not settling for you playing your reserve team every week.
Yeah. Aziz playing every game, sort of thing. It will be like that, though. I think the problem is that Arsenal are just seeing it as money. The owners haven't really seen the end of the tunnel, whereas the end of the tunnel is probably going to be the fact that we're not going to play the same games. They're not going to get the same viewers. It really is you need to put it into perspective and really think about what you're doing. Whereas the owners are probably thinking it's a couple of million brought in. They're not actually thinking about the players' point of view, because we haven't even got the depth for it at the moment. I know I said this earlier on your channel, but we've got nowhere near we haven't got the depth for FA Cup, for all the competitions we're in, never mind anything else. But I don't know. It's a tricky one. We're going to have to sort of wait and see, but we'll wrap up. Before we do, I know there's some people that are going to probably watch this once it's shared. Anyone that's listening right now, anyone that's listened, they don't know about you. Please let them know who you are, because I've been on your channel a few times. I know the great guy that you are, so let them know.
Yeah, look, I appreciate that, and as I said, you've supported me from the start, and yeah, look, I'm more than happy to come on and say my piece whenever you give me the opportunity, whenever I can, because look, we're here to help each other, and we'll grow together. So for anybody that is interested, yeah, you can see my Twitter handle is there, Rep of Arsenal, and the channel is the Republic of Arsenal. So you'll see Dan on my channel, no doubt. You'll see plenty more of Dan on my channel as well. And yeah, look, come over and check out the content. Like I said, I try my best to have a bit of I guess I call it a bit of variety. I like to have obviously an Arsenal insight, because that's me. I'm Arsenal through and through. But at the same time, I like to try blend in a bit of opposition insight as well. I like to get rival fans and that on where I can to provide their bit of knowledge. And hey, look, it all adds to the banter and the debate as well. But yeah, so hopefully we see a few new faces over there. But make sure, if you are watching this, support Dan. Check out all the content. Like, share, subscribe, because absolutely top man, and the content he's putting out there is absolute quality. So no, please do look, support me by supporting Dan, as I always say.
Top man. It's been a pleasure. It's about time I got you on as well. I know we've not had easy times, but yeah, it's been good. It's a hard time to talk about stuff like this, because I think we're all a little bit, as much as we are invested in the team, I think we're a little bit underdone. We're a bit tired. We've had a lot to process in the last 24 hours, and I think it's only the stories. This isn't going away anytime soon, but hopefully Arsenal continue. Hopefully football still played. That's all we want, is just football to still carry on. Like he said, Republic of Arsenal, make sure you check him out, YouTube channel, and we will be back soon on Thursday. Hopefully things calm down. I don't know if they're going to, but hopefully things calm down. Thank you very much for coming on, Anthony, and check him out on the socials. We shall see you soon. Cheers, mate.